Hello and welcome, all friends and devotees of yoga, meditation, and Buddhist studies. Today is the 9th day of September 2015. It's Wednesday today, midweek actually. For all those who are watching these videos for the first time, I'd like to introduce you to Grandmaster Ching Kong. Grandmaster Ching Kong is one of the leading Buddhist authorities, Chinese Buddhist authorities of our time. There are about 4 of them that I really have studied very closely. We have Grandmaster Ching Kong, we have Grandmaster Xing Yun, you have the Dalai Lama, you have Master Cheng Yen. These are about the greatest Buddhists of our time, Buddhist authorities. Master Cheng Yen, of course, a female. Buddha does not recognize any distinction between male and female. These were some of the differences between Buddhism and Hinduism about 2,600, nearly 3,000 years ago. The Buddha recognizes all human beings as perfectly equal and perfectly the same and having perfectly the same potentials. Whether you are male or female, you can be a Buddha if you have the knowledge, the enlightenment that the Buddha has. So the Buddha really had this great, very great enlightenment nearly 3,000 years ago. So of our greatest Buddhists in the contemporary age, in the present age, of course, we have a female amongst them. Grandmaster Cheng Yen in Taiwan is a female. She's called the Mother Teresa of Asia. She has been everywhere all over the world helping. She started the Zuchi Foundation. Everywhere where there's Japanese earthquake, hurricanes in the United States, Katrina, all those hurricanes, Master Cheng Yen was always there through the Zuchi Foundation to help out. She has Zuchi Foundations in Africa as well, in South Africa, in lots of those South African countries you have Zuchi Foundations. I've been trying to actually bring Zuchi to Nigeria, but it's tough. It's not very easy to do so. I've been trying to work with other Zuchi Foundations to try to see if we can start the foundation in Nigeria. So Master Cheng Yen is all over the place. Japanese earthquake, she was there in Japan helping out. Nepal, the latest one that happened this year in Nepal. I'm sure you've heard about the Nepal earthquake. Master Cheng Yen was there. She had the Zuchi Foundation helping all the survivors of the earthquake in Nepal. So she's very great. She's called the Mother Teresa of Asia. She's very famous. She's a Buddha, a female Buddha, and the other 3 are male. Grandmaster Xing Yun started about 7 universities. He has University of the West in California. He brought Buddhism to Africa. Master Xing Yun, he started South Africa, Broncos Point. There's a giant Buddha temple there in South Africa. They're giving degrees now to Africans who are interested in studying Chinese and Buddhism. Dalai Lama, of course, is also very famous. The Dalai Lama had a Nobel Prize. The Dalai Lama had a Nobel Peace Prize in 1989 from Tibet. He has like hundreds of doctorates, honorary doctoral degrees all over the place, all over the world. He has been honored greatly in the United States. President Bush received the gold medal, some of the highest honors and distinctions in the United States. Dalai Lama is very famous, very, very, very famous, exceptional. He's about one of the most famous of the Buddhist authorities. And then Grandmaster Ching Kong, of course. Master Ching Kong is also very famous. He has been honored by the Queen of England. He has received the highest honors. He's one of the highest authorities in Australia, highly recognized by the Queen. Besides being a Buddhist authority, Master Ching Kong is very honored. He has written so many books. He's done great research into Buddhism. He's a professor as well as a monk. He started a college in Australia there, the Pure Land College. Master Ching Kong has done very extensive research. And I took particular interest in Grandmaster Ching Kong's work because Master Ching Kong has taken a lot of pains to really bring us the true picture of who the Buddha is. Some people think Buddha is a god. They sort of confuse it with Christianity, because Jesus Christ is Son of God and Father of Christianity. They try to confuse this with Buddha. No, no, no. Buddha is not like Jesus Christ at all. Buddha is not a son of God or any god at all. So they tend to use this kind of standard to reason it. Jesus is Son of God and founder of Christianity, so Buddha must be a god worshipped by Buddhists. Wrong, very wrong. Buddha is just like a teacher. He was a prince. His father was a king reigning in Nepal. The Buddha was a very brilliant student. You can compare with Bill Gates. Bill Gates is a genius of our time, the richest man in the world, currently with about $80 billion. He started Microsoft, wrote powerful computer programs, is one of the greatest software architects of our time. It's not a god, it's just a genius. It's an American, we're all Americans. And the Buddha, maybe seen, Buddha was an exceptional student, a genius, very brilliant. He was recognized in his schools. The Buddha was a very, very, very brilliant student. He was a prince in northern India. His father reigned on the throne, and the Buddha said, no point. Human beings are all suffering. And he really took this upon himself, just like AIDS or cancer today. Cancer is still killing so many people. Mind you, we know there's chemotherapy. Scientists have discovered chemotherapy. There are ways they're trying to solve the problem of cancer. But chemotherapy, they said, is very painful solution to cancer. And so cancer is still killing a lot of people nowadays. And this is how suffering has been right from the beginning. So a lot of scientists pay attention to this. Is there some kind of medicine we can discover other than chemotherapy that can solve the problem of cancer, without really having those side effects, terrible pains that people pass through? That's how the Buddha was in those days. So the Buddha concentrated on this terrible disease of suffering, how it plagues humankind. Desires, continuous desires, and human beings never get all the things they desire. From one desire to the next, they keep suffering and suffering and suffering because of their desires. And the Buddha worked very hard on this and spent his whole life teaching students, very, very enthusiastic about this, telling people about suffering, just as a professor of medicine will do nowadays, going enlightening people about AIDS, about cancer, and what you need to do, wash your hands, do this, do that, as doctors will always advise. This was exactly how the Buddha was. That was the reputation he had in his time. He was like that kind of medical doctor that wins a Nobel Prize in our time and goes from all over the world, from country to country, from continent to continent, teaching people about the cure he discovered to cancer. That's how the Buddha was. So the Buddha discovered the cure to suffering. He discovered that we don't have to suffer. The suffering is caused by too much craving, too much greed. Human beings are very greedy. They crave too much. They lust too much after so much unnecessarily. And so they bring themselves unnecessary suffering. And so the Buddha really was very enthusiastic. When he made these discoveries, he went around the whole place teaching the people about how to solve the problem of suffering throughout humankind. The book we are currently working on is To Understand Buddhism by Grandmaster Ching Kong. I'm going to go very quickly because I spent about 7 minutes trying to introduce you to what we're doing. You proceed to page 37 to understand Buddhism. It's actually on this video. Just go to the website attached to this video, click on it, and continue to page 37. The last paragraph I'll read. The teachings of precepts place most emphasis on rules, regulations, and laws. The earth has 4 seasonal changes: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. We need rules and laws to successfully interact with people and matters, thus enabling the members of society to enjoy a wonderful and fulfilling life. A world absent of law and order is a world of chaos. Although one may possess good fortune and wealth, one may still be unhappy, living in fear and insecurity. Why? We have discarded law and order. The precepts thoroughly explain the principles, methods, and level of mind we need to bring about law and order. The 3 learnings clearly explain this concept. We practice the Buddha's teachings in order to attain the ultimate perfect wisdom. Once we uncover this inner wisdom, we will know the true reality of life and the universe, including how to restore our original abilities. The Buddha told us that all sentient beings possess a Buddha's wisdom and virtuous abilities. While the knowledge of the past, present, and future is part of our original ability, they are unfortunately covered and hidden by our delusion. Delusion occurs when the mind or heart is not still, while an enlightened one remains unaffected. When our six senses encounter the environment, our mind-heart moves, giving rise to wandering thoughts. The Buddha taught numerous ways to practice so we can remain unaffected in all situations, not giving rise to any wandering, discriminating thoughts or attachments, thus recovering our original capabilities. The state of mind is deep concentration. Cultivation is correcting one's erroneous thoughts, speech, and behavior. What are the standards for these? They are discipline and concentration. Discipline and concentration. Discipline is the external standard and precept. Observation is the internal standard. Discipline is the external standard and precept observation is the internal standard. Concentration is the standard for the pure mind. The external standard is very important, but much more important is the internal standard because it helps us to achieve our goal in the practice to attain wisdom. With self-discipline, we attain the concentration that gives rise to wisdom. This ultimate perfect wisdom is Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, supreme enlightenment, that is. How does one first attain proper realization? Then equal and proper realization, and finally perfect complete realization? These levels of attainment depend on the strength of concentration, the extent of the purity of the mind. As Buddhists, the goal of our practice is perfect, complete enlightenment. If one departs from the rules of order and purity of mind, one is not practicing Buddhism, no matter which method one practices, whether Buddha name chanting, precept observing, mantra chanting, or Zen meditation. If one does not follow the guidelines, one cannot attain the pure mind. All will be just window dressing. With 1 degree of pure mind, we can attain, or we do attain 1 degree of wisdom. With 2 degrees of pure mind, we attain 2 degrees of wisdom, etc. Therefore, practicing accordingly and maintaining and protecting the pure mind, which gives rise to true wisdom, it is exceptionally important. I'll stop there at this point. And folks, if you have any questions, any concerns, any comments, feel free to contact me on c.aburime@hotmail.com or colorcollege@hotmail.com. Watch my previous videos and you get it clearer. c.aburime@hotmail.com, colorcollege@hotmail.com. I have to run at this point. Thanks, folks. Enjoy your midweek, your Wednesday. Have a most pleasant day. Namo Amitofo.